This person is from the same recruitment batch as mine. I heard he took a vacation leave and was on his way to his family home.
The two elite team members nodded indifferently, showing little interest in a rookie with no seniority. Instead, it was the crowd behind them that grew excited.
Oh, if he's a colleague, then maybe he can head straight to the window.
Yeah, just like those others.
No, he's not qualified yet.
Baek Deok-soo thought, this fucking bastard.
To then, when will I qualify?
Kim Soleum looked at him as if he truly pitied him and shook his head.
I'm just someone who passed the test before, trying to guide everyone toward the least painful path.
A vein throbbed on Baek Deok-soo's temple, but he forced a polite, desperate smile.
I see. Oh, even so, I'd like to speak privately with you about some work-related matters.
Suddenly, a thunderous scolding erupted from the passengers, eagerly sending off window jumpers.
What's wrong with this guy? The train is in chaos, and he's talking about work?
Does he not understand the situation?
It's fine, everyone. People prioritize different things. We still have time until the next life loop, so I'll have a quick chat with him.
The passengers muttered among themselves, calling Kim Soleum too kind for his own good. Baek Deok-soo no longer felt goosebumps, just resignation.
Shall we talk over there?
But the moment they entered the restroom and locked the door, Baek Deok-soo couldn't hold it in any longer.
I saw you using an item supervisor.
Kim Soleum's polite smile vanished, his face becoming expressionless as he crossed his arms.
I'm just saying, think about what would happen if I went out there and told everyone.
He had to get this lunatic to the negotiation table somehow. But Kim Soleum silently studied him for a moment before subtly nodding.
Braun says you won't do that.
Yeah, he says if you tried, they'd throw you out the window with nothing but your clothes.
It's simpler to just jump on your own than to get thrown out. Don't you think?
Baek Deok-soo gulped hard. Fortunately, Kim Soleum didn't press him further. Instead, he did something unexpected.
Actually, I have a favor to ask you. The one I gave you as a gift.
Baek Deok-soo instinctively put a hand over his eye patch, thinking of the purple reverse eye beneath it. The device allowed him to see dangerous entities through glowing heat halos. The more dangerous, the brighter the halo. It was an excellent danger detector, highly valuable to the field exploration team, though Baek Deok-soo never fully understood why Kim Soleum had given it to him. The truth was simple. If Kim Soleum wore it, everything would glow red. The device was so sensitive to the wearer's subconscious that someone with even a hint of fear wouldn't be able to distinguish levels of danger. And since giving it to anyone else would mean telling them to luck out their existing eye, it was only natural that the already one-eyed Baek Deok-soo ended up with it. He was, after all, the perfect candidate. No one in their batch had stronger survival instincts, but Baek Deok-soo, unaware of this reasoning, remained cautious as he asked.
When should I use it?
Baek Deok-soo frowned as he tried to recall what he'd overheard from others. Then it hit him.
They said the door to that car is locked.
Kim Soleum admitted it casually.
It's probably been locked since the second loop. And now, every time the train returns to its starting point, they lock it again.
Baek Deok-soo wondered, how does this bastard know all of this? Wasn't he originally from Car 7? How could he possibly know what's going on at the front of the train? Is that why he's been leading people around, gathering information?
So, what do you want me to do about it?
Kim Soleum spoke nonchalantly.
When the door to Car 1 opens, you go in and identify the person with the highest danger reading.
Who exactly is in Car 1?
If you don't know, then who does? As expected, Kim Soleum tilted his head to the side and stroked his chin.
But you know, they've been randomly throwing people out the window in that car every loop, and it happens on its own. It's like someone gets thrown out every time, without fail. It must be painful for them. Poor souls. So, I figured I should stop them. Sounds good, doesn't it?
Baek Deok-soo thought. He's pissed that they're messing up his grand plan and wants to take control. But Baek Deok-soo kept his mouth shut. His life was more important. Instead, he forced a smile and said,
Then, if I identify the most dangerous person in Car 1, wouldn't that qualify me for an item? The item that grants eligibility.
This has to be how I get one of those items, right?
Huh? That's a different matter. Items and eligibility aren't related.
But if someone volunteers to help convince the people in Car 2 to open Car 1's door, maybe that person will earn eligibility.
Baek Deok-soo grinned widely.
Wow, that's exactly what I wanted to do. Haha.
Great. I'll leave it to you then.
Die, you bastard Kim Soleum. And that's how Kim Soleum successfully roped Baek Deok-soo into unpaid labor. After all, even dog shit can be used as a remedy, as they say.
Yes, let's give it our best again.
The train restarted. The passengers from Car 7 greeted each other enthusiastically, and even struck up conversations with people from other cars. Despite having experienced 6 train crashes, they seemed remarkably stable. It's true, having hope makes it easier to endure, but keeping people mentally grounded meant one thing. I'll have to keep up this crazy cult leader scam act.
Let's go, Mr. Roe Deer. Today, I'm excited to see what kind of audience or passengers will be captivated by your brilliant performance. Oh, how very fun!
Everyone, today many from Car 8 have gained eligibility.
Braun, stop cheering, please. Kim Soleum was beginning to feel a little existential dread, but he didn't let it stop him. He remained dedicated to his job of leading the passengers. Braun even suggested creating a TV show based on his leadership. Only one car remained. A total of 53 passengers had locked themselves inside since the second loop, cutting themselves off from the rest of the train. The only thing known about them was that they had been consistently offering sacrifices.
The door had opened.
Finally, the news they had been waiting for.
The door to Car 1 has opened, you say.
I immediately moved with the others to Car 2. Baek Deok-soo rushed out, looking triumphant.
I did my best to convince the passengers in Car 1 to open the door. Of course, it was a group effort from everyone, Venerable Pathfinder.
I see. You worked hard.
It seemed that every time the loop restarted, he had been knocking on Car 1's door, shouting about how there was a solution and asking them to come out. And surely he must have enthusiastically shared grand tales of the things you have accomplished, Mr. Roe Deer.
Ah, I wish I could have heard those fascinating stories myself. But fret not! A good friend always chooses to stay by his friend's side!
Yes, thank you, legendary host. I remembered exactly how it had been described on the wiki. Everything repeated dozens of times. Blood and madness reigned in every loop. Those 2 sentences were crystal clear in my memory. The door to Car 1 only opens after all those loops. Honestly, I had planned to break in myself around the 20th loop. But 14 loops in? That's pretty good. No wonder Baek Deok-soo had earned the nickname Field Exploration Team's Viper on the wiki. I nodded, acknowledging his efforts.
Well then, let's proceed to talk with them.
The door has shut again.
Well, technically we did make contact. Look at this.
Baek Deok-soo frantically handed me something. A crumpled, filthy piece of paper, scrawled in large letters.
Just endure 7 times more.
Were jagged words that were pressed firmly into the paper, surrounded by dark, reddish-black stains of some vile, slimy substance.
That stuff. It looks like the rot we saw in the tunnel.
A murmur of unease spread among the crowd.
Wait, what if Car 1 has turned into some sort of cursed hellhole? Like the tunnel?
Right. They shut themselves off and ignored the Pathfinder's guidance. And now look at them. Suffering horribly.
I quickly shook my head, trying to soothe the crowd on the brink of falling into cult-like panic.
That's unlikely. They seem to be in great pain, yes. But give me a moment.
I headed straight to the connection between Cars 2 and 1. Then I knocked firmly on the closed door of Car 1.
It's useless. I've tried multiple times.
Hello. I'm the one people call the Pathfinder. Can we talk? Behind me are over 300 passengers. We can help you.
We came to offer our assistance.
I'm telling you, it's useless.
I ignored Baek Deok-soo's dumbfounded expression and calmly turned to address the crowd.
Venerable Pathfinder? What if something happens?
If too many people enter all at once, it might overwhelm and frighten the passengers in Car 1. And if something does happen, we'll just return to the start of the loop, right? I'll be fine.
But at least take something for self-defense.
Thank you. I was waiting for someone to say that.
In that case, I'll rely on my colleagues.
I looked at the 2 elite team superiors and my fellow batchmate. The 3 who had already been briefed immediately nodded. Thus, the United Front of Daydream Inc. employees entering Car 1 was formed. It was a relief, especially since I could already see the signs of Jin Nasol's patience wearing thin.
Be careful, Venerable Pathfinder.
I asked the passengers to stay in Car 2 until called for, and despite their concern, they reluctantly complied. It's getting harder and harder to manage everyone. Sooner or later, things will start spiraling in unpredictable directions.
The only reason we've managed to maintain a relatively calm atmosphere so far is because people have been listening to me.
I could still feel the weight of the small badge inside the pocket of my suit jacket. The power of the silver heart was terrifying, undeniably so. I took a deep breath.
Then I'll open the door now.
That was when I felt it. Jin Nasol's cold gaze quietly watching me.
Isn't this taking too long? Should it have even reached the 14th loop?
A safe clear is important. I've minimized variables, gathered experience from the altars, and confirmed the escape method.
Now we just needed to execute it.
That's why this train ride will be our last.
Jin Nasol crossed her arms, silently granting me one last pass. Hopefully the final one.
Well, since we're ready as you say, let's just get on with.
As Baek Deok-soo scrambled after us without any authority to object, Supervisor Dolphin opened the door. The moment it opened, a sharp, metallic stench hit our noses. It was the same smell from the altars.
I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared.
Blarg, Gru, Urk.
I stood there, momentarily stunned by the scene before me. Car 1 was completely contaminated. Over 50 people inside were thrashing around, laughing hysterically, rolling on the ground, and sobbing uncontrollably. The floor was a mess of vomit, blood, and torn chunks of flesh. A small banner, soaked in filth and blood, lay crumpled across the aisle.
Blue Photography Club's 17th annual trip.
The passengers in Car 1 were members of a large group booking. A travel agency tour. They were people who already knew each other well, who were connected and friendly. And now they had ended up...
These people, they've been taking turns throwing each other out the window, haven't they? Or maybe they've been doing it by rotation?
What? But 53 people are completely out of their minds. Even if they threw someone out each time, it's only been 14 loops.
You're right. Which means, just as Supervisor Kim speculated, there's a person of interest among them.
Unless every single person had been thrown out, there was only one possibility. Someone within the contaminated group had overwhelming influence, strong enough to sway and lead others. And that someone, within this closely knit group, likely wore a piece of equipment that could spark extreme persuasion and groupthink.
The thing I asked for.
Baek Deok-soo flinched before hurriedly lowering his eye patch and scanning the area. His purple reverse eye darted around frantically until it suddenly froze. He held his breath and pointed. I turned slowly to look at the person Baek Deok-soo was indicating. A middle-aged man lay collapsed, gripping the handle of the door connecting to Car 2 before losing consciousness. If I had passed him on the street, I would have thought he was just an ordinary, kind-looking man. That is, if his entire body weren't convulsing, twisted grotesquely on the floor. Dark red fluid dripped from his mouth as the veins in his temples bulged. His entire body was covered in self-inflicted scratches, where he had torn at his own skin.
Possible. It's possible. 7 times, 7 more times.
I slowly approached the man as he mumbled into the air. His shirt had ridden up slightly due to his thrashing, revealing the end of his belt. There it was, glinting faintly in silver. A small, shining badge.
Is this the person of interest?
The critical figure behind the Tamra Express disaster. The silver heart owner. All that remained now was to confirm it. I knelt down in front of him, meeting his eye level. I leaned in just enough to whisper into his ear, making sure no one behind me could hear.
You read the directive, didn't you?
The confidential government directive about the Paradise Test.
The dull, vacant eyes that had been clouded with confusion suddenly regained a faint spark of awareness. After brief consideration, I took out a Happy Maker syringe from my pocket. Preparing for another interview, are we? I needed to talk to this man no matter what. To secure the information I needed, and to subtly dispel the growing suspicion that I knew too much about this situation from the start. I injected the potent painkiller into the back of the Silver Heart owner's hand. With a loud gasp, his convulsing body immediately stilled, collapsing onto the floor with a soft thud.
Hick! Hick! Hick!
Tears streamed down his face as he drooled onto the ground.
What the hell? What's wrong with him?
He's fallen too many times into the altar.
Judging by his condition, he had likely been thrown out at least 5 times. Since Happy Maker was a painkiller, not a restorative, his shattered mind wasn't going to recover fully. But at least he could talk now.
I can't do it anymore.
This man was the key. Thankfully, he began providing valuable information right away. The Silver Heart owner, tears streaming down his face, grabbed my shoulders as soon as we made eye contact. His grip was desperate.
You know, don't you?
His trembling hands tightened around my shoulders.
7 times is all it takes. We can do it.
What exactly do we need to endure?
Then, with a pleading tone, he added,
I know what this is. I know. It's managed by the government. Over there, we have a department dedicated to these kinds of phenomena. This is part of it. I've seen it myself. I read it. I worked in that place.
Behind me, I could hear the elite team members murmuring.
So he's a retired employee of the Disaster Management Bureau?
Maybe he has some useful equipment.
I pressed forward with more questions.
I understand, sir. Then can you tell me? What exactly is this supernatural phenomenon?
The retired lower-level office worker from the Disaster Management Bureau, still half delirious, began spilling bits and pieces of classified knowledge.
The thing is, this supernatural phenomenon, it's, if you survive 7 altars, just 7 altars, it ends, just a dream. Oh, it's all just a dream. And that's why our photography club...
He trailed off, his cloudy gaze shifting around the carriage. He looked at the other members of the Blue Photography Club, lying on the floor, writhing in pain and madness. I understood now why they had ended up. The Silver Heart owner convinced them. He had persuaded them that they only needed to sacrifice themselves once to reach the 7th altar. But not everyone had the same kindness and courage as the Silver Heart owner. Some resisted. Others hesitated or panicked. Some were too afraid to jump when it was their turn. Amidst the chaos and arguments, the Silver Heart owner likely became the example, jumping out of the window repeatedly to encourage them. And the more he fell, the more his mind broke, and the contamination from his silver heart spread to the entire car. Trapped in a cycle of pain and contamination, everyone in Car 1 eventually lost their minds. At some point, they all started jumping out of the window, their sanity fully shattered. Eventually, they unlocked the door and spilled into the other cars, causing the chaos that followed. That's when things took an even darker turn. That was why we couldn't forcibly open the door to Car 1 earlier. If we had, we would have triggered a full-blown catastrophe with the half-crazed Silver Heart owner leading the charge. That's why we had to wait. Until the right timing presented itself. Even the owner of the Silver Heart wasn't a god. At some point, amid the madness, confusion, and crumbling sense of self, that passenger must have desperately wanted help from others. But by then, it was already too late. The chaos unfolding in the other cars had reached a level that couldn't be undone. The moment they gave up and wrestled with accepting help from others, there had to be peace outside Car 1, and the appearance of an alternative solution. Something convincing enough for their shattered mind to reach out and unlock the door. But this was the 14th loop. By now, Car 1 was already hell.
I'm sorry, everyone. It hurts so much.
The overwhelming tragedy of seeing this first-hand hit much harder than any prose I'd read in the wiki. That's why we need to escape quickly. I bit down on my lip and asked the critical question, the one that could give me the decisive clue.
Elder, the train you saw in the directive. Which train was it exactly? Was it this one?
Yes. It's this train, that's right. The train to Ixon. The train bound for Ixon.
Supervisor Dolphin tilted her head, puzzled.
Ixon? That's strange. This train is heading to Mokpo.
Actually, we do pass through Ixon Station, Supervisor.
Oh, really? So Ixon is just a stop along the way?
Yes, that's correct.
But instead of trusting Baek Sehyeon's explanation, Dolphin decided to verify it herself. She strolled through the filth-covered aisle of Car 1, ignoring the sobbing and chaos around her. Eventually, she pulled a booklet from a seat pocket and quickly flipped through it. She nodded after confirming the details.
Uh-huh. Yup, that's right.
Okay. Then, according to the retired Disaster Management Bureau employee, we just need to get through 7 altars, correct?
Exactly. 7 altars, which means 28 sacrifices. Oh, wait a second.
Supervisor Rodeer.
Did you know that train routes often get extensions over time? So, maybe this train used to have a shorter route. Maybe back when Ixon Station was the final stop. That could be why it was originally called the Ixon Express.
Technically, the route had been extended in the mid-2010s, from Ixon to Mokpo.
And one more thing.
Dolphin's finger stopped at a specific section in the guidebook.
From Seoul to Ixon, if you're on a local train, you pass through exactly 7 stations. So, those altars we've been passing through, those are the stations, and if we follow that same logic. Unlike the old Ixon route, the current train to Mokpo passes through 9 stations, which means the altars aren't over at 7. We have to pass through 9 altars, and that means we need to offer sacrifices at 9 altars, totaling 45 people.
It was a chillingly accurate deduction, as expected of an elite employee, and that truth explained why the passengers in Car 1 had completely lost their minds. After passing the 7th altar, an 8th altar appeared, the supposed solution provided by the Silver Heart owner. Their one thread of hope was shattered. With that hope gone, Car 1 fell into a spiral of rage, fear, and panic until everyone mentally collapsed. It's a relief we didn't get to that point. I wouldn't have been able to handle it. As I let out a silent sigh of relief, Dolphin turned toward me.
You only have 11 doses of painkillers, right? And you've already used one, which leaves 10. So, we need 45 people to jump, but the painkillers will only cover 10 of them, right?
The weight of the math hung heavy in the air.
Ah, what a surprise! The moment of a difficult choice has arrived, friend.
Braun's cheerful voice echoed in my ear.
So, Mr. Rodeer, you have only 10 passes in hand, but there are 45 poor candidates who must fall into that wretched altar of rotting flesh to suffer. What criteria will you use to select the 45 sacrifices and then choose the 10 lucky ones to be spared? A trial? A vote? A review process? A lottery? Oh, it all sounds terribly unfortunate!
Braun's voice grew more and more excited.
But isn't that tension, pressure, suspense, relief, joys, and despair the essence of a great show? This is the ultimate moment. Ah! Look over there! A panelist is speaking!
It doesn't matter, does it? Whether there are 10 painkillers or just one, what difference does it make? Just grab 45 people and throw them out. That's all.
Her tone implied she couldn't understand why this was even up for debate. She turned toward me and added,
Isn't that what you set everything up for in the first place?
The assistant manager lightly pushed the door to Car 1 open. Assistant manager. Through the slightly open door, I saw the passengers in Car 2, waving and offering concerned smiles. The hundreds of friendly people, creating an atmosphere where everything was progressing smoothly without friction.
Well, this turned out better than I thought. I figured all this would be a waste of effort, but now it seems like it'll make things easier. After all, the people on this train don't really understand what's happening, do they? They won't figure it out until after they've fallen.
I could grab anyone right now and say, "You've qualified as one of the 45, and it's your turn to jump out." They wouldn't even know they were supposed to receive painkillers before falling. They'd simply jump without preparation into what felt like hours of endless torture.
And if it doesn't end at the 9th altar, we can just keep making them jump until no more altars appear. So, let's start throwing them now.
That's not possible.
Someone else answered. It was Supervisor Dolphin. She looked up at Assistant Manager Jin Nassel and firmly replied. Jin Nassel's temple twitched, but she was skilled enough to give the other person a chance to explain.
Then what do you suggest?
Supervisor Dolphin, staying true to her nature, offered a solution that's very like her.
Just pick out the worst people and throw them out.
Are you crazy? Why would we go through the hassle of doing that?
Jin Nassel strode toward the exit of Car 1. Supervisor Dolphin's eyes gleamed and her hand twitched as if ready to act. Wait just a second. I quickly stepped in front of the assistant manager. It felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. Stay calm. Be cautious. I swallowed hard and spoke.
The supervisor's suggestion makes sense. We shouldn't just tell people to jump blindly. What I mean is, there's a valid reason to do it this way.
I took a deep breath. I had to reflect what I knew from the narrative story into my argument naturally.
Assistant manager, when you went out the window, you heard the voice at the altar filled with rotting flesh, didn't you? The one saying things like, "Abandon your sins."
Tear off as much as your sins deserve. The strange, overwhelming resonance that even Happy Maker couldn't block out. Without it, I would have been clawing at my skin, burning with pain.
If the voice is that powerful, it must be deeply connected to this phenomenon. I think that in this darkness, the keyword is sin. The keyword we need to clear this.
Jin Nassel stopped walking.
Isn't it strange from the beginning? Why do the sacrifices wake up on the train again after falling? If they've been offered as sacrifices, they shouldn't return.
They come back messed up, though.
Yes, but that's because they follow the voice telling them to tear off as much as their sins deserve. The pain drives them insane.
I connected two things that had been vaguely lumped together over 14 loops.
So, the sacrifice isn't the person itself. It's the flesh they offer in proportion to their sins, isn't it?
Haven't I gone over this before? When the cult madness spread, passengers from all the cars killed each other, held deranged rituals, and tossed corpses out the windows. If you were to count the number of people who had fallen to their deaths, the 9th altar should have been easily surpassed by now. And yet, despite looping hundreds of times, this nightmare never ended. The reason was simple.
The people themselves are not the sacrifices. It's their sins they're offering at the altar.
And the people return.
After completing the offering, the person always walks back through the altar and returns to the starting point of the train. That's how the loop resets. Although they come back half-crazed from the pain of tearing off their sins, the person themselves always returns.
They leave their sins behind, in the form of torn flesh, scattered throughout the passageway.
Chewed, vomited, and discarded as they go.
That's what I believe is the offering.
The searing pain proportional to their sins, the voice echoing in their head. Once you see the tunnel littered with rotting flesh from that perspective, it's easier to understand. Those grotesque remains aren't just remnants of gore. They're accumulated offerings.
So, the surest way is for someone with sins to offer them at the altar and letting them fall down. That's what I think, at least.
Supervisor Dolphin softly clapped from behind, but Assistant Manager Jin Nassel remained perfectly still.
Of course, my theory could be wrong. But isn't it rational to take the safer route, just in case I'm right?
Maintaining eye contact with Jin Nassel, I pleaded earnestly.
So, for a safe clear, please allow me to convince the passengers.
The assistant manager opened her mouth.
You're a good liar.
Well, I'd rather deal with someone who can talk than someone who can't.
This is the 3rd time.
She grabbed me by the collar and lifted me into the air.
Venerable Pathfinder.
Getting lenient with you seems to have no end. We have to dive into the next darkness at Mokpo Station. But you're wasting my time and energy here.
From beyond the connecting corridor, passengers from Car 2 screamed and ran toward us. But Jin Nassel didn't flinch. She calmly shut the door to Car 1 and locked it.
Be grateful I'm wasting my time explaining this to you.
She leaned in close, her face right in front of mine.
You said the offering is the flesh torn off their bodies? Then how come those people you injected with painkillers didn't offer anything? And yet they moved on to the next altar just fine.
According to you, they didn't give any offerings, and yet the train progressed just fine, didn't it?
You knew the truth, didn't you? You lied. You've been caught.
I tried to con her. Didn't expect to get caught this fast, though. Sweating, I forced a smile. But most of what I'd said was true, except for one thing. The grip on my neck tightened.
So, we can just throw anyone into the altar, right?
Ah, yes, that's right.
I confessed willingly.
The amount of sins they offer probably doesn't matter. Even if they don't offer anything at all, the act of entering the altar is what's important. After all, in this Tamra-bound train, it seems like everyone is considered guilty.
We've seen it, haven't we? Even the virtuous owner of the Silver Heart had to tear at their own flesh at the altar. In the twisted logic of this nightmare, no human is free from sin. Everyone is a sinner. The difference lies only in degree. So if the goal is to clear the loop, there's no need to waste time picking and choosing the worst people.
Now you're making sense.
Jin Nasul let go, dropping me. I barely managed to regain my balance and gasped for air.
Good. Now stop wasting time and make sure everyone cooperates efficiently.
I forced a smile despite my aching body.
That sounds strange.
Assistant manager, you've made an inefficient choice.
I glanced back at the passengers knocking on the door, Supervisor Dolphin and Baek Deok-soo. If you proceed with your method, you'll have to fight 3 of your own employees. And since the passengers just saw you grab me by the collar, they'll resist you fiercely and fight back no matter what you do. Given how things had already unfolded, the most efficient plan Jin Nasul had in mind was bound to meet massive resistance. The passengers wouldn't cooperate at all. And now that the situation had reached this point, Supervisor Dolphin would certainly side with me and work together to overpower Jin Nasul.
Of course, assistant manager, you could subdue all of us, but that would be such a hassle, wouldn't it? A great point, Supervisor. Why go through all that trouble? Just take a nap, and the 3 of us will handle everything.
Behind her, Baek Deok-soo had a face that seemed to say, "Me? Seriously?" But instead of siding with the assistant manager, he silently rolled his eyes and kept his mouth shut. Since I was an elite team member now too, he'd likely choose to align with the side that had the numbers advantage.
So, assistant manager, could you just turn a blind eye this once? Please? This isn't really company business. It's just a situation we happen to get caught up in. We just want a slightly safer and calmer approach. It'll only take a little more time.
Jin Nasul is a rational person. She's not the type to throw tantrums and take the long way around just because she's annoyed. That was my only hope. But still, she's human, and humans can act unpredictably when their mood sours. Especially an elite team superior, she'd naturally feel resentment toward 2 subordinates opposing her.
Just as the supervisor said. This isn't exactly work, is it, assistant manager?